Before we do any presentation, we always like to acknowledge that Royal Roads University is situated on the traditional lands of the Kosepsum and the Kwangan ancestors and families, and learning has been happening here for countless generations. We're so grateful to be on this land, and as I'm acknowledging things, of course, we are living in a very unique time. There's a lot of different things that are emerging out of our health crisis that have to do with social issues, equity issues, business. Business is being reformed in many ways. I'm sure many people are looking at different aspects of this, and this is going to implement your research or impact your research. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to explore the way forward collectively and support you in that. And I also want to mention that we are all coming in off our home internet, so there may be a little bit more possibility for AV disruption. So if anything does come up, I do have my colleague Selena Kunar here who's going to be helping on the back end with technology. So yeah, we're here to support that aspect as well. And we are here. Oh yes, and welcome to Royal Roads, of course. So Royal Roads, I'm sure all of you have watched our webinar that occurred last week, but just in case you need a little refresher, we are based on Vancouver Island, just outside of Victoria, BC. We're a National Historic Site as well as a public university, and we were created in '95 with a intention to do things a little bit differently than other universities. We are very much about supporting professional growth and making change in the world. So that is what this program and all of our programs are really about, is about supporting professional development and being change makers. And we are here to discuss how you can turn a valid research problem into a strong and competitive initial doctoral proposal. So Hassan Wafai, who is the program head and associate professor in the program and the creator of the DBA, is going to take you through this. And then we have a few of us on the back end who are going to be supporting the call as well. So as I mentioned, Selena Kunar is here to support the technology. I'm Alana McConaughey. I'm an education advisor. You probably saw me on the last webinar as well, and you probably get a number of emails from me. There's Tracy Summers on the call as well, who's an enrollment advisor. You've been in contact with her through email as well. So we're all here to support your questions and you through this whole process, really. And to give you a sense about what we're going to be up to, I'm going to take you through an agenda, but I would also love if people feel comfortable just typing into the chat box perhaps where you're watching in from, what kind of work you're up to. We'd love to hear who's in the room with us. And as you type, I'll let you know what we're going to be up to over this next hour to hour and a half. We are going to look into why the DBA. Hassan's going to take you through why you might want to pursue this right now and how that's going to impact your life. And then we are going to dive into the research. So we're going to look at current DBA student research to give you some examples about what people are exploring through this program. And then we are going to dig into how to build your initial proposal. And then we're going to turn off the recording and we're going to have a discussion about your research problem. So hopefully everyone has a sentence prepared. We will give you a minute or two to create one if you haven't done that yet, but there will be an interactive aspect. And as I said, that's when we'll be answering questions as well. So we're going to go through the presentation and then we'll get into the discussion and the questions at the end. So from there, let's see who's in the room with us. So we have Deb from Calgary, who works in the aviation industry. So welcome, Deb. Thanks for typing in. And then we have thank you, Shafika. So from Vancouver and is a consult in the areas of sustainability and governance, mostly in the mining industry. Excellent, great. Well, welcome to both of you and for all others who are here as well. So I'll hand it over to Hassan and I'll be on the back end here for you guys.
Thank you very much, Alana. Thank you everyone for joining today with us. It's a summer and I know people are very busy, so finding some time to join us, that is very highly appreciated. So as Alana said, this is a second webinar of a series of 2, and that's the way we do it. The first webinar is more general and the second webinar more focused. We don't invite everyone, only those who attended the first webinar, and they have some they have progress in writing their proposal. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk a little bit about the program in general. I'm not going to go to the basics of the program because I assume this is we discuss it in the first webinar. So RRU-DBA, RRU-DBA, a program will help you, designed to help you to lead change in your industry and field. To conduct to independently develop and conduct research, original research, management-oriented research, applied. And when we say about applied, that means will contribute to both the industry you're working in, and at the same time contribute to research and development theory and literature. RRU-DBA will help you to be part of Royal Road community of management researchers, and actually Royal Road community of doctoral researchers. We have 2 doctoral programs at Royal Road, the Doctor of Business Administration and Doctor of Social Science. And finally, since it's a DBA, it's different from the PhD. I'm going to talk a little bit about this. Well, you will have the opportunity to advance your leadership capacity and challenge key assumptions around you and reconsider the implication at a macro level, social and environmental and legal concerns. With that, I would like to highlight two key questions. Actually, I always receive, and I'm here trying to provide some explanation around these 2 questions. The first one, people ask me, what's the difference between MBA and or an MBA or any master degree and DBA? The key difference here, it's while MBA helps you lead within an organization, or helps you lead an organization, DBA will help you lead an industry or a field of practice. So the focus here is not to be a leader within an organization per se. It's more about being a leader within an industry, to lead a sector, to have your own brand as a subject matter expert in a specific sector that is certainly bigger than an organization. The second one is the difference between applying knowledge and producing knowledge. Whereas MBA and other master programs focus on applying knowledge, so you learn theories and you take these theories to apply them in a specific context. DBA program as a doctoral program subscribe to knowledge production mode. The knowledge production, that means you are expected and required to produce relevant and actionable knowledge as part of your doctorate. So this is the first question I normally receive. The second question is the difference between PhD, professional DBA, professional doctorate, and Royal Road DBA. There are key differences actually between these 3 programs or nomenclatures. I'm going to highlight some of these differences. In terms of a program design, you can see that's the first column here. In terms of the program design, PhD is a very much non-modular program. It has very little taught component, whereas DBA program, a conventional DBA program, it's very modular, credit-rated based program. Royal Road DBA, it combines both the modular and the research component. So in the first year of the program, you will have taught courses prepare you to do the research. Outcome emphasis, PhD program emphasize contribution to theory. Conventional professional doctorate emphasize practice-oriented contribution. Royal Road DBA, well, students are expected to produce or to contribute to both theory and practice, as I said. It's not only about producing to theory, it's not only about contributing to practice, it's about contributing to theory and practice. And that is a key difference, actually. This is one of the most important differences between PhD and RRU-DBA. Whereas in a PhD program, the focus is on becoming a faculty member, while a DBA designed not only to prepare you for academic career, it's to prepare you for career within and beyond academia. Preparation for employment, as I said, this is then the RRU-DBA. It will prepare you for multiple career paths. When it comes to knowledge methodology, knowledge of methodologies and research, the conventional PhD program focuses on defining and identifying a gap in literature as a starting point of your research. So you need to do the literature review, you need to define a gap in literature, and then you build an inquiry process to fill in this gap. While in a professional conventional DBA programs, the focus is on fixing or improving specific context with very little implications for research and theory. In RRU-DBA, the expectation is to produce, as I said, knowledge that is relevant to both theory and practice. So the gap spotting, what we call it in literature, the gap spotting approach, that's mean defining a gap in literature and building a doctoral research on it, it's relevant. But it is relevant as far as you can find implication for that research in the industry or for the industry. Professional capacity, autonomy, here, DBA, PhD, conventional PhD program focus on producing researcher, academic faculty. I did my PhD, that's my job, this is what I do. While RRU-DBA focuses on helping students to build skills, to advance their skills, to become faculty member and or work in the industry. Hope that makes some sense to everyone. But I'm very happy to address any question around the differences between PhD program, professional doctorate, and RRU-DBA program. Admission requirement, as we discussed before, we require 7 years of professional experience, of which 5 years at management level, a relevant master degree. Now, these are the standard admission requirement. We don't have flexible admission requirement. In certain very, very exceptional situation, we could consider applicants who have a very strong aspect in their file. For example, they have a very strong proposal, very promising, and we look, but at the same time, we look at the whole file holistically. How to apply? There are certain requirements. I'm not gonna go through all the requirements at this point. The key requirement that we would like to discuss here is proposal. How to build your research proposal. So that's a target. We're gonna talk in the next 1 hour about a proposal, how to build a proposal, and what we would like to see in your proposal, in your initial doctoral proposal. Oh, sorry. Let me start. What does the journey look like? It's liberating. And by all means, it is liberating. I always have this discussion with colleagues who started the program, or even who did their doctorate in the Doctor of Social Science. They came to the program with certain mindset, with certain passion, and they used to be very much convinced that there is certain direction that they need to go through in order to achieve the final result. Through the program, we will help them to challenge their initial assumptions. We help them to consider different perspectives. And the more you learn, the more you challenge your basic taken for granted assumption, the more you are free. The more you are free, the more you are you becoming critical thinker. And I call it really a liberating process. I do call one of my colleague who I asked her to talk with doctoral students and ask her to tell them how did she feel after she completed her doctorate. And the one word she described herself as unfit. I said, what do you mean by unfit? I said, well, you know, I have to define a new circle, new people that I can talk with, because my original circles, I'm not fit anymore in this original circle. I don't have the language because I have a completely different perspective now. I can see the different point of view. So it was very interesting to describe this as being unfit and finding a new people to engage with. And here is the picture of the first cohort that started in January 2020. A group of 12 fantastic colleagues, actually, and you could, you're welcome to go to our website and browse their research, their what they are currently doing. In terms of research, all of them are leaders in their field and doing impactful research, actually. Here are some of the pictures of the first residency and the first residency. And the first residency happened and occurred in February 2020. The first residency for the next intake will be in February 2021. As I noted, there is a high possibility the first residency be online. So, talking about the proposal, research proposal. What are the key elements of a research proposal, a good, strong doctoral research proposal? The first one, define a researchable problem. Make sure it has a management business focus. Formulate a research question based on the researchable problem that you have identified. Second element, it's that you need to explain the importance of the problem. Specifically, how the intended research will likely contribute to management practices and research. Include key highlights from literature, and finally, explain how the intended research relates to your or relate to with or to your career goals and objectives. So these are the key elements. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take each of these elements and go a little bit deeper into it and provide some insights on how you really define a researchable question, how you're going to discuss research importance, how you're going to define key highlights from the literature. The first one, how to define a researchable problem. Researchable problem, it's, as I said, it can be either based on a literature review or based on your experience. Conventional PhD researchable problem is based on literature, i.e. you review the literature, and based on the review of literature, you will tell us this area, this specific area is under research. Or you will tell us that particular aspect of a problem or of a certain research needs more research. That's based on literature. The other way, it's based on your experience. So we have colleagues who've been working in certain field, and they come to us saying, well, I've been living this problem for many, many years. And I'm going to give example later on. And this is an important problem that we need to find a way to solve it. And this problem is not related to a specific organization. It's more of an industry-based problem. So it's either based on your observation or experience, or based on the extant literature. Now, when you define the problem, it's very important to make sure to research the problem. So you could come up with a certain problem that may be addressed in the literature. And it is about you who only need to go and read the literature in order to find answer to this problem. So it is important to research the problem and demonstrate that in your proposal. Tell us that you have researched the problem and show us what researchers and practitioners noted about the problem that you are interested in. Be clear about the scope of the problem. And I do understand that is not an easy at this stage. Most of the colleagues that they applied, or actually in the first couple of months, they have a kind of a vague problem, and that is okay, as far as you try to not make it too broad. For example, how to improve management practice. Too broad. How to enhance social innovation. Too broad. You need to have a little bit specific problem. If ideally the problem should be articulated in a couple of sentences. This is what we call a problem statement. And based on the problem statement, it will be ideal to include a research question, overarching research question. I'm not a fan of having so many questions or a couple of questions, only maybe one, maximum 2 questions, overarching question. And actually at this stage, I really recommend to have one overarching question. Once you define the problem, and again, let me get back to the problem, identifying problem before I talk about the importance of the problem. This is an important step because everything else will depend on how precise and concise you are in defining researchable problem. And I found that is very, I found that those who struggle to write strong proposal, it's mainly because they were not able to identify the problem. They did not give themselves time to think, what is actually the problem? What is the problem? What's the problem I'm interested in? So they are interested in a topic, but what's the problem in this topic? So a colleague of mine was interested in artificial intelligence. Okay, that's a very interesting topic. But what exactly the problem that you would like to focus on? It is how artificial intelligence can be applied, or to investigate organizational readiness. Even if you want to investigate organizational readiness, for example, to apply artificial intelligence, what's the problem? Why do you want to do this? You need to tell me, well, there is little research around that. No one else has been investigating this, or maybe there is a lot of research that is fragmented. And I would like to provide a little bit of coherence to the research by developing a framework. For example, nowadays people are talking about organizational resilience. And one of my colleagues is very much interested in this topic, saying, well, this is a timely topic. Everyone in Canada talking how we can improve organizational resilience. That's a very interesting topic. That's a sexy topic, let me put it in this way. Now, so what's the problem? Okay, that's an interesting topic. What is the problem that you are going to research? Is it that the research around resilience is very fragmented? And if I'm taking that perspective, then I'm defining the problem from a literature point of view. Or if I'm gonna take the practice-oriented perspective, saying, well, Canadian organizations have not been able to respond properly to the consequences of the pandemic. I'm just taking an example in a specific industry, to be more specific. That is a problem. And then what are these capabilities that help organizations becoming more resilient, or how to measure these capabilities. So I'm only here bringing examples. I'm going to talk more about examples from our colleague research. So once you define the problem, then you need to explain why the selected problem is important. It certainly should be important from your own experience. It makes sense for you at least, but that is not enough. You need to tell us how and why this problem is important in the context of the literature. I mean, is a problem under research? It's important. Well, resilience is important, not because it's under research, actually, because there is a fragmentation, and it's a multidisciplinary area that is not yet to be researched from an interdisciplinary perspective. Was the problem addressed before? Maybe the problem was addressed before, and you're taking certain perspective, to the problem. For example, the application of building information modeling in construction industry, the BIM, the building information modeling. It's a software. It's beyond a software. It's enterprise resource planning software that is very much common in construction. Someone would like to understand factors that contribute to the application of that software. This has been addressed in the literature. So what are you bringing new? Maybe you want to address these factors from a sociological perspective. Maybe you want to consider, let's assume, the sociological perspective of technology to analyze the adoption of certain advanced technological innovation. I'm just giving an example here. So if the problem was addressed, how would your research contribute to the literature? So overall, you need to highlight the potential consequences of the problem or addressing the problem in terms of the entire industry, society, community, national and global economy, and management practice. Improving organizational resilience or resiliency, how this will help the entire organization, the entire industry, how it will help a society, community, the economy in general, and how this will contribute to management practices, and of course, management research. Making sense? Give me some hints that you're doing fine. So far, we all doing good? Let me see here. On the chat box, give me some hints that you're following me, doing fine so far. There we go. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Good. We have one response. Making sense. Good. Alana, thank you. Any other response so far? Here you go. Good. You're still with me. Good. So, did I miss any slide here? Okay. So this is the importance of the problem. You need to include some key highlights from the literature. Your proposal should be evidence-based. The document include key highlights from the literature. It's not expected to include a full literature review. That's not what we're expecting to do, you to do in the proposal. It's just to give us some, you demonstrate what we want to see, that you need to demonstrate your knowledge of some of the relevant theoretical works that is related to your research. That's all what we want to know. So it's how your work actually is positioned in the context of existing literature. As you will start the program, you will have a lot of time to review all the literature and come up with a solid literature review. But at this point, for the initial research proposal, we only need some key highlight from the literature. These key highlight, it is recommended to be recent. So, I mean, a proposal that is very based on papers that are quite dated will be certainly less perceived positively compared to those proposals who are based on recent publications. In the proposal, it's nice. I would say nice. It's not required, but it's a plus to explain to us how are you planning to address a problem. Why I'm saying it's not required, why I'm saying it's nice, because we don't expect you to know a lot about how to design a research, and that kind of knowledge you will learn through the program. So we just wanted to know, just like how are you picturing the data collection? What kind of data you think will be more relevant to your research? How are you planning to actually conduct the research? That's all what we want at this point. So it's a brief overview. Let me give you some example. Nathan BANDA. Nathan, he has a master, I think in nursing, in the area of nursing. So he does not have a business-related master. He has a master in the nursing area and 15 years of experience in healthcare. Currently, he is leading a nursing unit in Alberta. So Nathan, in his initial proposal, he explained the problem that he would like to research. And as you can see, the problem that Nathan explained is based on his own observation, based on in his own experience. As a nursing practitioner, and he's managing a nursing unit in rural area in Alberta, at some point, 40% of his staff, registered nurses, left. That's a huge amount for him. 40% of registered nurses, such rare quality to find, 40% of your resources just left. So that's certainly a big problem. And when he started to research why that happened, what he could do to retain nurses, he found that there's very little study how organization actually retain nurses and what are the factors that could contribute to retention of nurses. So based on that, his research question was, what are the factors affecting nursing retention in rural area in Canada? That's a very straightforward question. Of course, that's the initial question. As he started the program, and Nathan now actually almost in the stage where he is about to write his final proposal, the main question can be, of course, changed, tweaked, depends on the learning that the student will get in the program. Another example, Bill Danielsen. Bill has MBA experience. He graduated from Royal Road. He's our student. And he has 23 years of experience, of which 11 are at executive level. And he currently has an executive director position in federal government. So in his initial proposal, Bill argued that we are living in a global digital society. And in his work, he's leading the unit where all digital information is stored. The official governmental digital information about Canadian citizens and Canadian residents is stored in one unit. And part of his job is to make sure that there is a all this information is secured. So he was questioning, are there common characteristics for people who commit intentional insider threat attacks? Someone who could leak information from inside the organization? Because most of the current tactics and the practices is to prevent cyber attack, which is external attacks. If there is a way to find or identify or protect the information from insider threat. And accordingly, he defined the research question as, how can personality traits be used as a leading indicators for insider threat risk? My third example, TASHA Brooks. TASHA, she is currently doing her DBA with us. TASHA, she is a professor in Vancouver Island University, and she is also Indigenous Education Navigator at the university. And she is currently a director for Cauchan Tribes Fishing Enterprise. The research problem that, TASHA brought to us in the program is that Canadian Indigenous entrepreneurship's participation rate is only 6.26 compared to non-Indigenous participation rate of 11.75. And that is not just based on her observation, she supported that with statistics information or statistics from the Statistics Canada. So basically, this is a problem that TASHA is concerned about and would like to see and to know why. Why Indigenous entrepreneurs are not as successful as non-Indigenous entrepreneurs in approaching support. That support that's available for both type of entrepreneurs. So the research question then, it will be exploring why, despite increasing entrepreneurial support surface available for Indigenous entrepreneurs in Canada, a disproportionately lower number of Indigenous people engage in entrepreneurship. And here, I'm trying to present these examples to explain that the key in designing proposal, it's a research problem. Once you have a valid research problem, then you can develop a research question. And this research problem should be validated in terms of existing research. So it's not enough to say, well, I have a research problem without researching this problem and making sure that this problem is valid in the light of existing literature. Some advices to select your research problem. And these advices, actually, one of my colleagues collected these advices and provided these advices to us to share with all candidates. Research your passion. Passionate research often results in thoughtful and rigorous research. Now, your doctorate is your professional identity. It is how you define yourself. I still define myself as, well, my area of expertise is technology transfer. This is my doctorate topic. This is my area. This is my passion. So make sure to align your passion with your research. And that is only available actually in a RRU-DBA program. Why? Because in PhD programs, you don't have that opportunity. In PhD program, you don't have the opportunity to say, well, I'm interested in this particular research. In a conventional PhD program, you need to do a research that is aligned with your supervisor's interest rather than with your interest. Know your motivation. Why DBA? Why you want to do a DBA? It's a big commitment. It's a huge investment, it's not just financial investment, it's a social investment, it's a time investment, it's a big investment. Why? Think about why. And make sure that you know why you want to do a DBA and commit to put time, effort in the next 4 years. And define competitive advantage in terms of research. There are things that you can do others could not do. Nathan can do the research that no one else can do, because Nathan, he is dealing with a problem. He is actually the problem that he is dealing with currently. That while others, they heard about the problem. It's not a problem that they own. So they have a competitive advantage over others. TASHA also has a competitive advantage over others. I mean, TASHA herself, she is an indigenous professor, and she herself understands the problem in her community. And she's bringing this problem. She has a competitive advantage over anyone else who would like to investigate that problem. So identify your competitive advantage when you define your research topic. Doctoral proposal. Now, when you build your proposal, you need to consider the structure of the proposal. There is no standard structure, but normally what we are expecting from you is to have an introduction, a research problem at the beginning, and well, I need to put the charge in my, sorry, 1 minute. Here we go. Okay, so the structure of the proposal, you still need to put, to be clear about the introduction, to have the problem statement in the beginning, research question, and then meet all or address all these key elements of the proposal. The length of the proposal, 2 to 5 pages. It's easy to write 20 pages. Yes, it's easy, especially if you're talking about a topic that you're interested in. But that's not what we want to see. We want to see 2 to 5 page, concise and precise. Make sure to cite and reference all information that you will use in the proposal. That's a key, important point. Do not use any information that you don't know the source of. If you use any language that's not your own language, please include reference. Now, we recommend to use ABA manual. ABA, it's a way to reference information. That's the way we recommend. But if you are not familiar with the ABA manual, you can use any other manual, Harvard manual, Chicago manual. The most important things here is to reference information and data that you will use to support your argument. With that, let me move on to open the floor for us to talk about your research problems, intended research study that you would like to bring to the doctoral program. So I have a quick exercise. Let's think about this exercise as an opportunity for us to consolidate our thinking and provide some nuggets for all of us to discuss. So take 3-5 minutes to think about a research problem. I call it here a problem situation that you are deeply interested in. Write it down. Try to write it down in a short sentence, 2 sentences if possible, and explain to us why is it important. And when you explain why it's important, remember, explain to us why is it important from a practice point of view and from a research point of view. So I would like to emphasize here that focus on the problem, not on the subject. On the problem, not on the subject. So what I would like to hear from you now, it's not that, well, you know, I'm interested in, I don't know, HR practices. That's an interesting area, but very broad, but focus on the exact problem that you would like to write about in your proposal. Write it in 2 sentences. If possible, if you have time, we can, if we have time, we can then move to the next exercise. But let's now focus on the first exercise, to write the research problem into sentence and explain to us why it is important. Would that be something that clear for everyone? Okay.
Wonderful. I'm going to take this moment as you guys take a couple minutes to write this down to stop recording, because the discussion aspect that we're about to go into will not be recorded. So I thank everyone who's watching the recording and hope that you can join us next time for the discussion.